At ease, guardsmen. You stand in the presence of one of the Emperor's finest angels. I'm on a mission to cleanse the Wasteland, baby. You see, the Commonwealth seems to have a bit of a xeno problem lately. These revolting, repulsive beasts are spreading chaos and corruption all over the planet, more so than there already is. Though its exact species is unknown, it appears to resemble some type of tyrannid offspring. Maybe a subspecies or something. It hardly matters. They all die the same. Oh, don't worry. It ain't about the size of the chainsaw. It's about how you use it. Let none find shelter from the Emperor's wrath. No pity, no remorse, no fear. Let's fucking go, baby. First things first, I'm gonna stop in at a nearby village to see if anyone can point me in the right direction. As I was doing so, though, I spotted an unusual sight. It appeared to be a talking toaster oven that doubled as a hedge clipper. The machine seemed to be a dangerous relic of the past. I had considered purging him right now, but perhaps a tech exorcism is in order. He did end up telling me that these new beasts appear to hang around water. So, for the time being, I suppose I won't destroy him. But once I'm finished with my mission, perhaps I will. I immediately began investigating nearby rivers and waterways. No sign of them here. If they're in this river, they are damn good at hiding. But I would have found them by now, I'm pretty sure. I did end up finding whatever this is, though. Some type of mutilated, deformed hamster. I'll put it out of its misery. I'd better make sure it's dead, though, I suppose. Please don't resist. I'm trying to help you. This is for your own good. I continued my search through the forest, at which point I would end up stumbling upon some type of primitive camp. Finally, some humanoids I can question. Or so I thought. They didn't seem to like my presence. They began attacking me with their prehistoric weapons. Simple-minded creatures. Very well, I suppose there won't be any questions today. Thankfully, the only armor they seemed to have was some type of garbage bag atop their heads, making it easy for me to pop them like little pimples. After that, I stumbled upon some type of vehicle wreckage, and right next to it was some more primitive armor. No wonder they're so weak if this is the best that they have to offer. The state of its wielder is starting to make a lot more sense. As I continued on my quest looking for clues, I eventually stumbled upon some type of facility with what I could only guess was a teeny tiny dreadnought out back. It seems inoperable, and its operator seems to be absent. Although, perhaps its power source won't be so useless after all. Sometimes you find a diamond in the sewage. That's just how it is. By this point, though, I was hours into my mission, and I was still no closer to finding any of these monsters that I've been looking for. Until some useful information found me instead of me finding it. If I had to wager, I would say that the pilot of that craft probably knows where I should go. After a few more hours of tracking it, I would eventually find the craft. Unfortunately, it seems to not be in one piece, though. I was hoping that I might be able to crack it wide open and find its pilot inside. But all I found were heaps of burning metal that were foreign to this world. Looks like this new path led to a dead end like all the others so far. Or so I thought. Unless this is some type of new lubricant that these crafts use, I'm gonna say that this belongs to our pilot. I started following this blood trail, which led directly to a little cave nearby. Alive or dead, our little green man is most definitely inside there. I was as silent as a guardsman in love with an orc woman sneaking up on this little freak. Took me a second, but I eventually spotted his ugly little ass sitting over in the corner. Initial scans showed me that this was a Zatan, a useless little bastard. Well, I see the problem now. They're known for using lesser, more aggressive species to take over worlds they want. I bet this little freak's responsible for all of this. Guess I should finish the job, huh? There he is, looking better already, little guy. The thing about Zatans, though, is if you find one, there's almost definitely a smorgasbord somewhere on the planet, so we'll have to be on the lookout. But we still need to clean up their mess first and foremost. Luckily, it just so happened by nightfall I would find some of these disgusting creatures that they've unleashed to do their bidding. What an unholy abomination. If I don't get rid of all these right now, they'll spread through this planet like wildfire. Funny enough, though, it is by a dock, which is on water. I suppose Coxworth, the robot, wasn't lying to me after all. Alright, let's get to work. I started things off hot and heavy with a grenade, and then I made my presence known. The rabid beast was lustful for blood and foolish, which would eventually lead to its end fairly quickly, to my surprise. You should take pride in your death, abomination. Most don't last that long against one of the Emperor's finest. Killing one solo is easy peasy, but it looks like I'm about to find out what it's like dealing with multiple at one time. 2 more of the monsters would come to the aid of their friend, who I just butchered on the ground. For a minute, these vile creatures would toss me around like a rag doll until I popped one's head, and the other ended up facing a similar fate. Concerningly, after each one's death, it would seem some type of offspring was formed. A quick stomp would put them down rather easily. After killing of those 2 and their babies, the runt of the litter has decided to join us. This one, small and perhaps stupid of all, ran right up on me and I shot it in the head, killing it. And with the death of this final abomination, that is the last of them remaining here. But my quest to kill the rest of them continues on. As I did so, I would encounter many demon engine servitor and the like who needed to be put down in the name of the glory of the Emperor. Murderous dishwashers, homicidal microwaves, and killer refrigerators alike. Such a service I was doing cleaning this world up. It was becoming clear to me that it was nothing but pure chaos here. I would almost be willing to leave it for the Zatans to take, but orders are orders. Not only did I find several plague zombies who had to be put down, but I would also encounter Necron warriors. Needless to say, a Zatan invasion seemed to be the least of our worries here, but luckily these Necrons were weaker than any that I have ever encountered before and were easily dispatched of with my bare hands. This planet also seemed to have a local population of orcs, though they were less advanced and less intelligent than those that I fought previously, so they too were no match for my might. And yet, by this point, with all the blood that I was covered in, even less of it was that of the Zatans and their monsters they had brought to this world. My search continues. During this time, there were whispers between the locals of some type of creatures in a swamp to the south. I decided to travel there in hopes of finding more. And what did I find there but lo and behold, a vessel nestled in the mud and the murk. Zatan in nature, and adjacent to it some native species of mud-dwelling critters fighting some of the predatory hounds that the Zatans had brought here. I suppose I should clear them out. Just one little problem. I'm running awful low on ammo. Looks like we're gonna be getting our hands dirty. Now to begin though, I do have quite a few grenades in my arsenal to weaken them. Nothing like a bit of shrapnel to disfigure and mangle some limbs. During my cleansing process, there was a machine fighting one of the beasts, and it would also meet a similar fate. Thanks to my grenades and its explosive death, the last remaining Zetamorph would meet a pitiful end. Well, we killed all of them. Now time to stomp their little ugly babies to death before they can go on to spread any further. After I stomp their babies to death, please don't take that out of context, I would continue searching the area. I'm sure it doesn't surprise you to find out it looks like this Zatan vessel was the one that brought the creatures here. Although upon closer inspection, it doesn't look like the Zatans released the Zetamorphs, it looks like they actually broke containment. Worst of all, in some of the nearby ruins, I actually found several, and I do mean several, of these Zetamorph eggs, along with a Zatan skull and a human. Of course, it's not unlikely for them to feed on other living creatures, but It looks like that Zatan's skull appears to belong to the pilot. It's all starting to make sense now. They weren't released on this planet. They crashed and broke containment. Classic lesser species, not being able to control their tools of war. Stupid little green men. I guess I'll clean up your mess for you, burning down this building full of Zetamorph eggs to make sure we don't have any trouble out of them anymore. I searched the perimeter for hours upon hours, and luckily this is the only nest. After that, I would head back to Coxworth's village, where there were plenty of resources and I could start making myself some more ammunition. Later into the night, as I continued my travels, I came upon a grim sight. By the Emperor's glory, it really is a Zatan invasion, isn't it? I suppose I should get involved. As bad as I hate the heretics of this planet, I can't let them get slaughtered by Zatans. That is my job, after all. Ugh, what an ugly dog. It's just like I told you before. Where there's one Zatan, there's bound to be hundreds of Zatans. They're kinda like fruit flies. They don't last very long, and they're quite fragile, but you're gonna see a lot of them. Thanks to their frail biology, it was actually quite easy for the heretics of this planet to fight them off as well. So I really didn't have all that hard of a job, I must say. The only issue with that being, though they are weak and frail and tiny compared to most humanoids, they do have some pretty advanced technology, meaning that when Phase 1 of the invasion fails, Phase 2 begins. After a couple of days, Zatan transport ships began plaguing the skies. If the Imperium hadn't labeled this place a death world by this point, they definitely will now. The little green men are finally bringing their full arsenal out on full display. It's about damn time. I've been in dire need of a proper fight ever since I landed. And sure, I think it's going to take their entire army to give me one, but I will get that fight one way or another. Even if that means I have to rip 1,000,000 of these putrid little freaks in half to satiate my bloodlust. Detecting my overwhelming presence, they started sending their commandos down in droves, all of which meeting a gruesome end. They were throwing their soldiers into a meat grinder that was doing them no good, except for the fact it did cause me to run out of ammunition, meaning I would have to use their own weapons against them. They seemed to be plasma-based, and their ships seemed to be protected against this, so it did take me a little bit longer than I had hoped to destroy their ships, but I still destroyed them all the same. Well then, I suppose that takes care of that, huh? At least in this region of the Wasteland, there are still plenty of Zatan troopers and specialists who are roaming around the area that need to be finished off. But the only way to defeat them for good is going to be to find the rest of them and to slaughter them, as you could have guessed. During my travels, I did find a native weapon that I think will help us out with this quite a bit. It uses a primitive nuclear technology as is ammunition, but doesn't it look like a hell of a lot of fun? Tracking their energy signatures, I would find myself in a place that I believe the locals call the Glowing Sea. Bit of a dumb name, as there's not even any liquid here. Even so, there were a lot of enemies, though. If I had to guess, given their organic resistance to radiation, I would bet that they're using this place as a staging ground. Silly little creatures, the Emperor's wrath knows no bounds, and not even a radioactive hellscape will stop me from finding you and executing you promptly. I decided to try out my new weapon that I found, and I wasn't disappointed, but surprisingly, the ships were actually pretty resistant to it. That's quite alright though, as I had prepared for such a scenario, for you see, I have crafted many, and I do mean many, many nukes to use. And with enough of them, the ships would fall. One down, one more to go. I hid in the nuclear fog where the ship couldn't see me, and then this little battle was finally over. Taking out 2 of their destroyers like that, we might stop this invasion before it really gets started. I would continue exploring the Glowing Sea, looking for any more destroyer ships or just any troops in general. In the distance, I could have swore I spotted a gigantic Zetamorph. I began to move in for a closer inspection, and to my surprise, this was no Zetamorph. This was a local, and I use that term loosely, species known as a Deathclaw. Funny enough, this might just be the most formidable foe that I've fought on this whole damn planet so far. I found it best to engage them from a distance because when I got a little too close, they quickly gained the upper hand in a close combat situation. I found one lying in her nest with her offspring, so I torched the babies and I slew the mother. It ain't much, but it's honest work. Unlike our little green adversaries floating around in their UFOs, I had little to no issue truly conquering the Wasteland. Even the glowing sea was no match for one of the Imperium's finest warriors. The deeper I went into the glowing sea, the more of our enemies I would find out here, though. It looks like they're trying to set up some forward operating bases, but I don't think I'm going to allow them to do so. I'm afraid that even the slightest of slightest footholds will not be permitted. And the punishment for even considering such a vile action? I'm going to splatter all your brains on the ground. Now for the ship. Oh, looks like I forgot a Deathclaw. You know, whereas before I was just dying for a good fight as no one had really given me one up until this point, I think I really had a good time out here in the glowing sea where everything was trying to kill me. I think I finished off most of these Zatans during this time as well, though I'm sure there's probably a handful left in the Commonwealth. The most surprising thing that I found out here by far was a colony or village or whatever the hell this was of humans. The most radioactive place of all. I guess it's true what they say. Life, finds a way. There's just one little problem. These folks out here seem to be worshipping a great big hole in the ground instead of the Emperor and all his grace. Yeah, that's not gonna fly. You thought I hated those aliens? I hate heresy even more. Obviously, there was only one punishment for this crime. Actually, there were multiple. Some people got burned alive, others got shot, and I actually think I ripped the arms off one fellow. But, in the end, none of these worshippers of Adam were alive anymore, and that is by far the most important part. As I continued my journey to the edge of the sea, I eventually came upon a great, big, beautiful pyramid out in the glowing dust. It's about damn time, too, because my armor was in desperate need of some repairs. I don't have any tech priest here, so it's going to take me a while to do it on my own. Let's try to clear this place out pretty quickly. Initially, there didn't appear to be anyone here or anything of interest here. I couldn't understand why the Zatans were clamoring around this pyramid. Through the facility, though, I eventually came upon some ancient weapons with nuclear explosive capabilities. It's all starting to make sense now. It seems they were trying to get their hands on these. Whether they planned on using them or keeping the people of the planet from using them, I don't know. I came upon a glowing radioactive zombie, and I slaughtered him. But he was the worst of what I found in here. No Zatans, no other intruders. My presence here has really thrown a wrench in their plans, eh? Well, I need to get back out of the sea and go work on this armor and repair it, as I mentioned earlier, before we finish them off for good. Repairs were indeed made a few days later. Bit of a patch job, since all I had to work with were some tin roofs, wonder glue, and duct tape, but it was the best I could do on short notice. Throw a little turpentine on it, and it should be golden. Now, repairs weren't the only thing that we were going to do to the armor, though. I wanted to make a few improvements of my own, with that being a proper jetpack, giving me the versatility to take on UFOs, not only from the ground, but from the sky. Oh, ain't she a beauty, just what the tech priest ordered. Now again, it's the best that I could do, my own handiwork, but I think it'll be just enough. I also chucked a couple Tesla bracers onto my fist for good measure. I'm a fan of punching in alien skulls, and I think this will help me with that. Time for me to make my way to the inner city where I could finish this fight once and for all. But once I landed here, instead of a Zatan, I was met with a humongous mutant. His mere existence was a crime against the Imperium and the universe itself, so I quickly, and actually rather easily, put him in the ground. He made for a glorious trophy, and he also made for pretty good target practice and a bit of experience with my new jetpack. Perfect timing, I'd say, because later into the night, I would encounter the last remaining Zatan forces. soldiers. Their pitiful invasion reduced to nothing more than a transport ship and quite a few of their troopers, I suppose. Not that it really mattered, because everyone I came upon, I put my fist swiftly through the crevice that used to be their cranium. Our battle was epic, but the last remaining foe was the ship itself, who seemed to get caught on a billboard and explode mid-air. I told you their entire species was a bunch of dumbasses, and that's exactly why their invasion made it no farther than a few pieces of rubble in Boston, and exactly as to why I'm standing on a mountain of their corpses, literally as we speak. Then again, not every soldier can live up to the standards of the Imperium. The alien, the heretic, the traitor, none shall escape our vengeance.